Chapter 9. Ezekiel's prophecies about God's people being released from Babylon captivity and restored to their homeland contain a message for those who want to please Jehovah today. Clean worshippers of Jehovah must break free from and remain free from the contaminating influence of false religion, despite coming under countless religious, economic, and ethnic backgrounds. We must maintain the unity that helps identify us as God's people. Chapter 10. The theme of unity was highlighted by the vision of the dry bones coming to life. What a privilege we have to be among the restored group of cleansed worshippers who work together as an army. Chapter 12. Unity was especially emphasized by the prophecy of the two sticks becoming one. How faith-strengthening it is to see the united and the other sheep fulfill that prophecy. Despite living in a world divided by religious and political hatred, we remain bound together by love and loyalty. Chapter 16. The vision of the man with the inkhorn and the mission as pure worshippers will be in a position to be marked for survival.
Like a shepherd, giving his life in behalf of the sheep. In 1914, Jehovah installed Jesus as king and entrusted him with the responsibility to feed the sheep here on earth. And this is in chapter 8. And in chapter 8, under Jesus Christ as the Messianic king. Later, a great crowd came and joined them and became one flock under one shepherd. In paragraph 26 in this chapter 8, what can we learn from all of this prophecy? Well, we can learn that we are privileged to be united in a worldwide brotherhood, engaged in pure worship to Jehovah. The real key, though, is unity. However, we must be able to show love, empathy, compassion, and be forgiven. Because in Colossians chapter 3, 12 to 14 says, love is a perfect...
Began to work zealously to restore Bible truths. It was as if sinews or tendons and flesh came on the bones, and Zion's watched by such tools as the photodrama of creation and the book, The Finished Mystery. And we see in 1919, Jehovah put a spirit in his people, and they came to life and were released from Babylon. And today, those of spiritual Israel who are the anointed remnant and the 10 men who are the other sheep together form an extremely large army.
So in chapter 12, it especially emphasizes the unity among Jehovah's people. Those sticks meant that the two sticks will become one. And that's faith strengthening.
Wonderful, wonderful, very good.
The vision of the four living creatures taught us about Jehovah's qualities. The foremost being love. When we speak and act in a loving manner, we prove that Jehovah is our God. Chapter 6 and 11. God's love motivated him to commission watchmen such as Ezekiel. Because God is love, he does not want any to be destroyed when he brings an end to Satan's domination of the earth. We have the privilege of reflecting God's love by fulfilling our responsibility to support the work of the modern day watchman. Chapters 17 and 18. Jehovah knows that many will reject his mercy and will attempt to wipe out his loyal worshippers. Love will move Jehovah to defend his people when Gog of the land of Magog launches attack on those who are loyal to him. Love for others motivates us to warn as many as possible that Jehovah will destroy those. The vision describes the result of Jehovah's greatest act of love, giving the life of his son so that we might have our sins forgiven and enjoy perfect life as part of God's family. One of the best ways to show our love for people is to put faith in his son.
Taught us about Jehovah's qualities, and the foremost being love. So So when we speak and act in a loving manner, we prove that Jehovah is our God.
Wonderful, very good.
John 4 and 8, it helps us to see and appreciate that Jehovah is a God of love, and persons who should also obtain this love that Jehovah has.
Yes, thank you. That's Sister Sheena Roberts Cartwright. Sister Cartwright, then, please. That's Shania. Sorry for that. Okay.
Shania is fine. We see from reading these paragraphs that countless millions, even billions, will be resurrected from the dead and offered the opportunity to live forever in paradise. And one of the best ways to show our love for people is to tell them about the beautiful future that Jehovah has prepared for those who put faith in His Son. And we demonstrate this love by being spiritually healthy and well nourished. We have seen an overwhelming supply of spiritual truths by way of magazines, books, tracts, brochures flow on God's people in the past century. And we now have them by means of jw.org electronically. New crops are produced monthly, and these leaves provide food and healing by means of the visionary trees along the river banks. This life-giving water spoken of is being fed by Jehovah Himself, so this is how we will equip ourselves with love.
17 and 18, it helps us to see how Jehovah is provoked to anger when his enemies attack those who loyally seek shelter under his protective care. It highlights the examples of how his anger blazed against Pharaoh and his mighty army when they descended on the helpless Israelites because of his loyal love for the people, and also how Jehovah's love prompted him to act against the Assyrians in the days of King Hezekiah. And so likewise, love will move Jehovah to protect and defend us, his people, when Gog of Magog launches attacks on his loyal servants. And so love for others will move us to warn as many as possible of his upcoming destruction.
Right. He wants all to live forever. And so we must continue to demonstrate our love by continuing to carry out Jehovah's instruction to warn persons repeatedly until the time comes when he says to stop. And in this way, we can help honest-hearted individuals to find the road that leads to life.
Review. As we cover any material, even in a Bible study or anywhere, teaching somebody, we want to, as one brother says, tell them what you're going to tell them, and then tell them what you told them.
The practical application of the material, either in the fulfillment in our time or in our personal lives.
Wonderful.
It's good to summarize the main points at the end of the material. So this is what the organization have done. They've presented a summary of each paragraph or a selection of paragraphs in order for us to grasp the main points.
The chapters 18 to 21 in the publication. At this point, now we get into the fascinating part of our meeting. After the millennial reign, a remarkable act of humility.
The history of mankind has been like a heartbreaking story filled with sadness and loss. But as each generation is brought back to life, Jesus will be erasing the tragedy.
And to be able to be brought back to perfection and understand what Jehovah has originally planned for us, and be able to do that and go up against Satan in that time in perfection. That's amazing just to think about being able to do that in a perfect state.
Beautiful.
Days when people ask you how you're feeling, how you're doing.
Sometimes to writing your own story. From a little girl, I've always had a wild imagination and always alienated myself from time to time from what I was actually experiencing. So to be able to take my imagination and put it in something that most persons wouldn't consider me to be crazy is a wonderful, wonderful feeling. Giving us depictions of what the new world would look like, and it's gorgeous, it's beautiful, it's lush, it's clean, and the people are happy and so fulfilled. And when we look at today, we know we have a beautiful earth, but when we look, it's being destroyed, it's littered, people are homeless,
So when I look at those pictures, I just can't wait for the day to actually see those with my own eyes. But in the meantime, like Sister Fritz, my imagination can run wild with those images and help others to see that as well.
Thank you.
When he hands over the kingdom to his God and Father, when he has brought to nothing all governments and all the authority and power. For he must rule as king until he has put all enemies under his feet. And the last enemy, death, is to be brought to nothing.
Restored to paradise. Jesus anointed for 1,000 will humbly and with remarkable humility hand the kingdom over to his father, Jehovah.
Thank you.
Will have in telling his father, I've done everything that you asked me, I've accomplished it. And then he'll be able to hand back.
That they are willing and peacefully, even after that 1,000 years in authority.
Yes. Got it? But Dad does something that has puzzled.
And do something extraordinary, something that expresses great confidence in his earthly subjects. He will direct that Satan and the demons be released from the abyss in which they have been confined for the 1,000 years. The world that greets them will be vastly different from the one they knew before Armageddon. The majority of mankind was misled by Satan, and the unity of the human race was fractured by hate and prejudice. But at the end of the 1,000 years, all mankind will be worshiping Jehovah as a united, loving family. The earth will be one harmonious paradise. Why will Jehovah release such criminals as Satan and the demons into this clean environment? Because the majority of those alive at the end of the 1,000 years will have never had their loyalty as faithful worshippers of Jehovah tested. Most died without knowing Jehovah and were then resurrected to paradise. Jehovah then not only gave them life, but also provided for all their physical and spiritual needs. They will have experienced no negative influence, only positive peer pressure. They will have been surrounded by people who love and serve Jehovah. Satan could hurl at these resurrected ones the same accusation he leveled at Job. They serve God only because he protects and blesses them. So before Jehovah writes our name, book of life, he will allow us a chance to prove beyond doubt that we are loyal to him as our Father and Sovereign.
Thank you for your excellent reading.
Be vastly different from it was. We see the unity of human race is fractured by hate and prejudice. But now at the end of the 1,000-year reign, we see that all mankind will be worshiping Jehovah as a united, loving family. And so
Also, the children of Armageddon, those who would be born into the new system would never have had their faith tested either. And all of mankind would need to be tested now as perfect humans. In the same position that Adam and Eve were in when Satan tested them with the fruits from the tree of the knowledge of good and bad.
Rely on Jehovah like our brothers in Russia, even during the Memorial Campaign. And that's certainly something we want to take away from our meeting this evening. And next week we'll be talking about humility and how we can benefit from that. 2000